Greetings fellow dungeon delvers and welcome to Dorans and Dragons. My name is Justin and I'm going to be your guide to bringing your favorite League of Legends champions to life in Dungeons and Dragons. Today we're building Ryze, the Rune Mage. Ryze is an ancient archmage who wields arcane power on an endless hunt for the world runes. His mission is to find all of them and bind them to secret locations to prevent weak-willed people from finding them and succumbing to their temptations, as his original master did so many years ago. Before we get started with the build, go ahead and like the video and hit that subscribe button so you're always notified when we release our builds. We'd like to take a minute and thank our awesome patrons over on Patreon who support us every month. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on and the rune magic flowing. If you like our videos and want to support the channel, come join us over on Patreon today for just $1 to get access to our awesome Discord community where we talk League and D&D all day long. Alright, now let's get into it. Here's a quick preview of the build. For race, we're going Variant Human. Per usual, our stats are going to be determined using the standard array. For our stat priorities, we're going to max intelligence and dump strength. Our leveling path is going to be full wizard from 1 to 20. Ryze's passive, Arcane Mastery, is going to be upcasting our spells as we get higher and higher spell slots. His Q, Overload, is going to come from Chromatic Orb when you're striking a single target, and Chain Lightning when you're hitting a bunch of spellfluxed champions. We'll get the movement speed portion from the Haste spell. Our W, Rune Prison, comes from Ray of Frost in Hold Person and Hold Monster. His E, Spellflux, will be Elemental Bane and the Overchannel feature. And finally, we get our ultimate, Realm Warp, from Teleport. For race, we're going with Variant Human. That'll give us a +1 to 2 ability scores. We'll use it to bump our intelligence and constitution. Our long travels are going to give us a skill proficiency in survival. And finally, we'll get a free feat for choosing this race. We'll go with Warcaster to help our concentration spells for our W and E, and let us cast spells for our opportunity attacks as well. Now speaking of far travels, Far Traveler is a good choice for background. However, we wanted to focus more on Ryze's studies and knowledge, so we went with Sage. Being a Sage is going to give you proficiency in Arcana and History and the Researcher feature. That means that even when you don't know something, you know who or where you can learn the information from. For stats, we're going for the balance Riot has spent 5 reworks trying to achieve with the standard array. Roll your beautiful math rocks with impunity, my friends, for there are no multi-classing requirements in this build. Intelligence is going to be our main stat here at 15, reflecting our insane magical knowledge. Constitution will be after that so we can get thick and help maintain our W and E. Wisdom is next for our world travels and life experience. Then we'll get our dexterity for zooming along the rift. We'll have an average charisma and dump strength. Since we don't need any equipment, we can jump right into the class levels with the wizard. Wizards have a d6 hit die and will give us 2 skill proficiencies to work with. Investigation will help us in our hunt for the world runes, and religion will help round out our knowledge as an archmage. Arcane Recovery is going to let us recover spell slots once per day during a short rest. You can recover half your wizard level in spell slots, but none of them can be 6th level or higher. Normally this is kind of meh, but since we're going to be a full wizard, you'll really get some mileage out of this feature. Speaking of spell slots, we'll learn 1st level spells and cantrips here as well. For our cantrip, the Ray of Frost spell will be the slow on our non-fluxed W. You fire out a beam of blue-white light, dealing 1d8 cold damage and reducing the target's speed by 10 feet. Just spin the flavor of it as a rune appearing on them and slowing them instead of the beam. Then we'll pick up the single target form of our Q with Chromatic Orb. You'll launch a 4-inch sphere of arcane lightning at a creature and deal 3d8 lightning damage if your spell attack roll hits. 2nd level wizards choose their arcane tradition, which is generally the school or type of magic they'll focus the most on. Ryze is a pretty straightforward School of Evocation wizard. Choosing this tradition will make us an Evocation savant, cutting our time and gold costs for copying Evocation spells into our spellbook by half. We can also sculpt our spells, letting us shape our spells around our allies and letting them avoid the accompanying saving throws and damage. Level 3 wizards learn 2nd level spells. Hold Person is going to be our W, letting us force a wisdom save on a humanoid and paralyze them if they fail. Pick up the Shocking Grasp cantrip and walk up and give them a hug to remember when they fail the save and get auto-crit by you. 4th level wizards gain the 1st ability score improvement of the build. As always, we'll break down all of them here so you can pick and choose along the way. At Wizard 4, we'll get the only feat we're going to pick up for the remainder of the build with Tough. which will give us that extra toughness we need to survive while we scale. It'll give us an additional 2 hit points per level, giving us 40 at max level. At Wizard 8 and 12, we'll bump our Intelligence 2 points each, maxing it at Wizard 12. Then at Wizard 16, we'll round off our Wisdom and Constitution scores. And finally, at Wizard 19, we'll bump our Constitution another 2 points. Level 5 Wizards learn 3rd level spells. We'll get the movement speed portion of our Q with Haste. Haste is going to double our speed, give us +2 to AC, advantage on our dex saves, and the ability to take a limited action. We'll mainly use this free action to dash or disengage for kiting purposes. Remember, it only lasts a minute, and when the minute ends, you're not doing anything the next turn while you recover. Level 7 Wizards learn 4th level spells. We'll pick up our E with the Elemental Bane spell. At its base level, you cast this spell and choose a creature within range and the lightning damage type. You force a con save on that creature, and if it fails, it takes an extra 2d6 lightning damage once per turn when it's struck by that damage type. On top of that, it loses any resistance to lightning damage for the duration of the spell. Now, like Ryze's E, this can be spread onto multiple enemies, one for each spell slot level above 4th you use to cast it. Level 9 Wizards learn 5th level spells. Hold Monster is the same spell as Hold Person, except it removes that pesky humanoid restriction, so you can Flux W whoever you want. 10th level Evocation Wizards gain the Empowered Evocation feature, letting us add our Intelligence modifier to 1 damage die of an Evocation spell. This includes your Ray of Frost, so don't forget it. Level 11 Wizards learn 6th level spells. Chain Lightning is going to be the fluxed version of our Q, letting us hit multiple targets. You fire out a bolt of lightning within 150 feet, and then that bolt arcs out into 3 more bolts, forcing dex saves on each creature, dealing 10d8 lightning damage on a failed save. Upcasting the spell gives you an additional bolt per additional spell slot level. Level 13 Wizards learn 7th level spells. We're going to learn how to Realm Warp with the Teleport spell. This spell is going to let you transport yourself and up to 8 willing creatures to any spot on your current plane. Success is going to be determined using a D100 and a lengthy table I'm not going to fully explain here. I'll sum it up by saying this. If you're teleporting to a permanent circle, or by using an object taken from there within the last 6 months, you're going to auto-succeed. Anything beyond that is going to be based on your familiarity, and the less familiar you are, the less likely you are to succeed. 14th level Evocation Wizards gain the Overchannel ability, letting you supercharge a spell you cast that's 1st through 5th level, dealing maximum damage. You get to use this once per long rest with no penalty, but anytime after that, you'll take 2d12 necrotic damage for each spell slot level. Each time after that, you increase the d12s by 1. Since we're taking the tough feat and have a pretty high constitution, I would say you could probably risk using this a little more than your average wizard should. 18th level Wizards gain Spell Mastery, which is going to let us take our Chromatic Orb and Hold Person spells and cast them at will at their lowest spell slot level. Now, while this does sound cool, remember that it's not going to scale with your level like a cantrip would, so at this point using a 1st level damage spell isn't going to do very much for you. Hold Person will work just fine though, and being able to cast it willy-nilly is very cool. And finally at level 20, Wizards get Signature Spells, which is similar to Spell Mastery, except they're 3rd level spells, and you can only cast them for free once per rest. We're going to choose Haste for this one, so we can be zooming around even more often. Alright, now that we've completed the build, let's see how we did. First the good. Our high lightning damage is going to light up your DM's creatures. Upcasting our spells is going to be a cinch with this many levels in Wizard, meaning our spells are going to bring the heat and hit plenty of targets. On top of all of that, we have a nice beefy 200 plus hit point pool. Now the bad. Our AC is super low, which is okay because we can supplement it with mage armor or some defensive spells. We also have a lot of spells in the concentration department, meaning we're going to have to plan ahead to make our spells most effective. So what'd you think? I've included a link to this build via D&D Beyond in the description below, as well as some Amazon links to the books used in the build. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider supporting us on Patreon. We have a few awesome rewards and you get access to our great Discord community. We plan on churning out one League Champion build every week. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll catch you on the Rift. or in the Forgotten Realms.